What's up, y'all? My name is Abraham and I play video games for fun. Today, I just want to tell you guys all about my first time visiting Norway over some gameplay on the map Shipment on Call of Duty World War II. Some of the top 5 things I loved about Norway. First things first, the nature. I know that's very obvious, but coming from Los Angeles here in California, the air quality was such a big factor in my experience there because I had a great experience. I have a tad bit of asthma and I occasionally use an inhaler. But the thing is, when I visited Norway, I didn't actually have to use my inhaler at all, which was surprisingly a life changing experience. Um, One of the other things about nature there was that when I was there, this was in northern Norway in a town called Mo I Rana. Northern Norway had a summer sun, per se, during the summer, in which around 3 a.m. the sun would still be out. And the reason for that was because of the simple fact that it was summer and during the winter session, the winter session is typically during the winter time period of the years, the sun is not necessarily out throughout most of the day, like it would here in California, so to speak. So to me, being there in the summer and seeing the sun out at 3 a.m. was a very interesting experience. I can say first and foremost that it definitely helped because, whenever we would throw parties or hang out with friends, it would just make memories timeless for me. But the third craziest thing about Norway's nature is its fjords, in my opinion. A fjord is essentially a piece of land where the ocean bites in, and it's just really nice to just stare at and sit by and do lots of fun things by. The temperature there during the summer is also another thing that I really appreciated because it gets around 80 degrees, 85 degrees max Fahrenheit. And when you compare that to the summer temperature here in California, that to me is like it's absolute heaven because to be honest, it gets extremely hot here in LA during the summer. I'm talking about anywhere from 95 to 105 to 110 even degrees uh, here in California. The second thing I loved about Norway was its tap water. Now I know that sounds really cheesy to say, but I am a firm believer that the tap water I had while I was in Norway was better than any water bottle brand out there that you can name. Third, the best thing about Norway is that its people are really friendly. My experiences at, say, a bar or in stores, and here's the thing about Norwegians. They know English. Their primary language is Norwegian. But if you don't know Norwegian, they're not going to shame you for it, and they're not going to give you a hard time about it. In fact, once they find out you're a foreigner, per se, uh, they actually they try and be helpful in the ways that they can, and they're not very opposed to lending a hand with things like finding a certain item in a store or ordering a certain drink at a bar. But now that we're on the subjects of stores, I would like to say that the most important thing that I tried, I say important because it really it really played a huge factor in my experience. While I was in Norway, I tried whale meat, and that was in the form of whale, like it was steak. It was whale steak, so it looked like steak. It felt like steak in my mouth, in the consistency and stuff, but it tasted like fish. So it was totally mind blowing. The second thing I tried while I was over there was it was elk meat, and that to me was really something out of this world. The fifth thing I loved about my experience there was being in the city of Mo I Rana. It's pretty much a small community where everything is really close to each other, and the university there is really nice. It's got a lot of opportunities for international students, including support programs like learning language, helping to learn with the language Norwegian, and all sorts of other good stuff, including but not limited to free tuition for international students, which to me means a great big deal. But now I want to talk about three things that I disliked about my experience. Not at all related to Norway, Believe me, I tried really hard to think about these things. When I went to Norway, I was practically the only brown person I saw for the most part. There might have been one, maybe two other brown person. But whenever it is that I introduced myself as Mexican American to people, not in most cases, but there were a few instances in which people thought I was part of the cartel, which I think is a really funny thing, but also is one of the things that it was really funny was I am a rather big person, and so in Norway I actually stand out. So what happens is I show up to the bar and the guy next to me is like, "Oh, you're American. Oh, you're big. You must play for the NFL." And I'm just sitting there riding the wave like, "Oh yeah, I play for the NFL," you know. um, but the second thing was bank conversion fees. You know, bank conversion fees totally killed me during my experience. So, a piece of advice is if you ever go to Norway and if you can avoid bank conversion fees, maybe use like a transfer program. There's all kinds of different programs or services that you can find online that can help you avoid those bank conversion fees because that totally took a toll on the budget that I took with me when I went to Norway. The third thing that I didn't like about Norway so much, which isn't really a big deal because, you know, if you live there or it obviously isn't a big deal to you, but coming from California and then going to Norway, the prices in the marketplace, like food for instance, is actually very expensive. Another comment I have is that you won't actually, as an American, you won't actually find as much junk food as you would in, say, an American like store, like a Walmart or something. There's not going to be as much variety. I think my experience was, and this is just my experience was I showed up to the store and they had like two different versions of like flavors, and there was about three brands or something. Which is not a big deal again, but it's just an interesting little observation that I saw. Americans tend to really stock up on the junk food, and that was my experience in Norway. I think one of the most important pieces of advice that I can give to you guys is to take a camera, because Norway is just an absolutely beautiful place, and I made a lot of really great memories there, and I think you guys will too. I really appreciate you guys taking the time to watch this video. If you found that this video was interesting, or if you want to see more content of this type, please give me a like and a thumbs up. I appreciate your time, and I really hope to see you guys here next time.